Welcome to our podcast, designed for psychologists, therapists, and counselors who want to take their business online and live a soul-nourished and profitable life without compromise. If you want to know the secrets used by practitioners just like you to navigate the global e-learning market successfully, then you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Talib, chartered psychologist, business mentor, and your host, and welcome to the Abundant Practitioner Podcast. In this session, like I mentioned, I'm going to be covering about the retreat, the Soul Success Business Retreat. It's an annual retreat that takes place every year in October, right? And we meet together in the beautiful, beautiful Alexander House. It's a 5-star, beautiful venue, boutique hotel in West Sussex. And it's just such a great place to bring people together who are like-minded in the sense that they are either a practitioner, coach, consultant, building their business, creating a mission, creating a movement, and just taking that time away from their life to get into that space to just unwind and really sink into the vision of what's next for them, right? And so the retreat is a beautiful opportunity to step away from the day to day, right? Like whether you are doing your business full time, whether you are doing your business alongside your job, right? Whatever the situation, being able to just carve out that time and step away and just sink back into the vision is super transformational. And so that's what the retreat is about and why I host it every year. One of the great things is we're going to actually, people are like, please let us know the date sooner. So we want to be there next year for people that weren't able to come. So we will be releasing the dates for the next retreat probably before the end of this year, right? So you can stay tuned to find out when that is. But it's a great opportunity. People fly in, people get trains in, people drive in. Like it's all sorts of people get in the room, regardless of where they are in the world. We've had people come from the USA, people come from Africa, people come from Scotland, right? The UK, various parts of the UK, to be in that room. And the effort, they say, is worth it, right? So just a heads up. But I want to talk about that today. So I'll talk about it, and then we'll be able to have a bit of a chat, because it's a 3-day event. And this particular event, I covered day one. We really went into feeling good as a strategy. Feeling good as a strategy, right? And that was a theme for day one. And it really was their opportunity to really take a moment to just sink back in and be away from that constant hustle, to recognize that actually, when I feel good, when I take moments of like rest and ease, like I can think better, right? I can see things differently. I can hear my vision. I know what I feel a bit more clearer. I feel a bit more confident even, right? And so we went into like that feeling good as a strategy for the business success and the movement of your mission, right? We also really dived into that from, like they're coming to this venue. Some of them have been on retreat before and they were like, yeah, I'm home. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. And for some people, they're fresh into that environment. Some people come to on retreat, they've never experienced being in that level of venue before. And so there's all these emotions that can come up in terms of like, wow, like I've allowed myself to take time away from the family. I'm allowing myself to be in this space with me and my mission. I'm allowing myself to really experience this level of care and attention and just being loved on and cared for, and experience really nice things, and to allow myself to just be in the spa or be in water or just chill on your bed with no distractions, right? And so they were really able to lean into that theme of feeling good as a strategy and what does that mean for them. right? Does it bring up feelings of guilt of feeling good, right? Does it bring up feelings of like, oh yeah, this is for me, like feeling good is where I need to be? And why we speak about this is because you guys are building a business to make an impact, but also to make an income. And when we think about energy and everything being energy, right? Making impact and making income are high energy frequencies that you are what are dealing with. And so it's about ensuring, like, throughout my life, how do I ensure that I am creating these moments to feel good, and I'm not waiting until I get X number of clients. I'm not waiting until I hit specific revenue number. I'm not waiting until the children leave home. I'm not waiting until whatever it might be, but that actually you get to implement feeling good as a strategy now in your day to day, right? And so it really was about recognizing, looking at their lives and their current setup, that when they go back to their home lives, what in their life does not make them feel good, that they could potentially make some changes to, right? And people really stepped away, in terms of, some people went away and were like, do you know what? I'm going to change my office environment. Right now I don't even have an office environment, right? The way I work, it's not set up in a way that I feel excited to work on my mission. Right. And we really spoke about that. And it doesn't matter if you have a space where you're operating from a room. Like when I started my business, I was just like in a room, right? Like it wasn't like a whole house, right? I made that corner of that room inspirational and inspiring, right? And so it was like, or if you've got an office, how can you change it to make it inspiring? What can you take out? What can you put in to really ensure that you're feeling good when you're going for that? Some people were walking away with certain strategies that they were going to implement, like burning a candle while they're lighting, while they're working, which smells nice, right? Changing their room, or playing some nice music, right? I shared with them, I love putting on sometimes coffee shop jazz, right? Yeah, you can go on YouTube and just put on some jazz music, and you can even have it like with background sounds and stuff, right? So what can you do to elevate your lifestyle, your working situations, to improve it, to ensure that it's going to allow you to be in that higher frequency, right, as you move forward your mission? So these were some of the strategies. Some people decided that they were going to, when they do their shopping, they're going to pick up that bunch of flowers and bring home for themselves, right? And really just amplify their energy. We even spoke about sometimes being able to change your environment. So working in other places. I shared that when I was starting out in my business, I remember starting out in my business, and at the beginning I was living back at home, right? And some of you know my story. I started my business and I was going through a separation, and I moved back home with my mommy, and I was there and I was building my business, and I'd wake up each day like raring to go, and my mom would be like, where are you off to? Like, you're not working at the moment. And I was like, Mom, I am working. I've got a business, right? I got to get dressed, I got to get up, right? And at that point, when she's asking me those questions, I didn't have clients, but I would get up, I would get dressed, I would get out, and I would move forward. Yeah. And I wasn't in that mindset or mentality of like, oh, I'm working from home, let me just stick on my dressing gown all day, like I was like in the energy and the vibration of like, how do I lift my spirits up to really like put the right energy behind what I'm doing? And sometimes I would take myself to the environment. The local gym got to know me very well, and they had a coffee shop in the gym, and I would set up there, and that would be my office, right? And I would work, and I really work on my business. And so we spoke and shared about, one of the environments that are around you that you might be able to lean into to work from in different places. Especially if you don't have like a home office or a home space that really kind of fuels you up. Maybe you have a local co-working space. Maybe you have a local hotel or a local coffee shop or a local library that just makes you feel a bit different when you come to the work of your business, and your mission. So we really, really dove into that whole concept of feeling good as a strategy. And I spoke about it because seriously, this is how I've seen people not just 2 times their results, but up to 10 times their results by simply changing the energy that they're leaning into as they move forward their business mission. Right? We spoke about how that might need to shift and change in terms of your boundaries. Yeah. You get to feel good more if you are respecting and honoring your own boundaries, respecting and honoring your own values, right? So we really leaned into what are the tweaks and shifts that you might make in your own environment that help you feel a bit better. Yeah, it doesn't, you'll feel a bit better if you wear socks without holes in, right? Like you'll feel a bit better if like you just move yourself, right? Whether it's to walk, or you'll feel better if really like allow yourself to activate the five senses, right? Like what I'm touching, what I'm tasting, what I'm smelling, right? What I'm hearing and what I'm experiencing, right? So really like recognizing, like, if I look at all of those, could I make a 1% improvement even on that? Yeah. Can I make a 1% improvement of boundaries? Yeah. Drop the mic. I love that. Yeah. So it's really, really important of recognizing, like, where is my energy being expended in ways that don't serve me and the mission that God has assigned to me, right? What needs to shift and change? What is around me that actually is less than, that I don't need to put up with, right? I remember once having a client, and and we would speak, and she mentioned something. She was like, I made a cup of tea this morning. I really don't like my kettle. I really don't like my kettle. And she'd mentioned it a few times. And I said, the next time we speak, I want you to get rid of that kettle. Because you imagine that kettle, you're boiling with water, which you're going to then put in your teacup to drink and absorb into your body. And the energy you're emitting to just that kettle, I prefer you to just boil the water in a pot on the stove, right? And feel better so that you can experience better, so that you can receive better. Because when you are allowing yourself to experience things that are less than the standards you want to accept for yourself, it means that you're deciding that is the standard you accept for yourself, right? And so you got to reassess and redecide what your standards are. And your standards are what you experience. So sometimes people think about standards as what they aspire to, but your standards are what you are actually set up to experience, right? So if you are living your life where you are drinking, making your tea out of a kettle that you really despise, and you're coming to it with that kind of energy each time, it means that is what you are putting as your standard, right? That my standard is to absorb things into my body from an energy of what I don't like or feel for. That's your standard, right? And so you get to elevate that standard. If you decide that your standard is that, if you realize, not even deciding, these are realization moments. Like if you are realizing, like, oh, when Talene mentioned socks, like I got a few socks that I put on and got a little hole in it, and I kind of put up with it. That's the standard that you've decided for your life and living experience. If you are in your home office environment or your home working space, right? Because I get that not everybody is working from an office, right, at home, but even your space, and in your space, you are putting up with literally like bending over on a chair that doesn't support your knees, or, you know what I mean? Like you are setting that standard. So how do you make an incremental upgrade, an incremental shift and change to experience it? It doesn't mean that you have to move from one experience to the other and be like, oh yeah, well, I want my standard up here. And so like, let me go out there and do that. That might not be able for you to do right now, but there will be an ability to raise that standard just slightly. And then as you raise the standard slightly, you'll be able to raise it again eventually, and then raise it again, right? And so really allowing yourself to raise your standards. And that's why when I meet up with clients in person, I really ensure that they are brought somewhere where they really just feel loved and cared for and feel that experience of like, wow, this is a standard that they have set in their establishment and I'm entering it. And so they can come away with really observing like, what changes am I going to make in my life so that I can ensure that when it comes to feeling good, that feeling good is a real strategy. Yeah. So it was really about that. Like day one was all about that, right? And then we went into the discussion we was having at dinner was around rules, right? The rules that you have set for your life, the rules and expectations. And to recognize that there are rules and expectations that you have set and that they can be changed, right? And we spoke about some, and in terms of like some rules and expectations that people don't even realize are working against them, right? If they have a rule or an expectation of like, um, everything's always hard for me, right? Everything's always hard for me. Or it might be a rule or expectation that is just set that it doesn't serve them, and or it could be something that you don't even realize that you've started doing it, and it might just be, someone came up with something unrelated there and was saying, one of the rules and expectations that her and her siblings had growing up was like, oh, when mum creates the plan for us to go out, it always rains. And it would always rain. Like when mum created the plan, it would always rain, right? And they would just start seeing that thing, but they were inviting that rule and expectation into their life. And it was kind of like becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then they would set some days where they'd be like, let's do the plans and don't tell mom till the last minute. And then the sun would be out, right? And these sound like funny things. But sometimes we were talking about, some people were sharing, oh, sometimes when I go to the supermarket, I think, oh, please God, let my favorite car parking space be free. And they were like, it's free. When I say that, it's free, right? When I really call out for what it is I want to see, I'm more likely to see it. Yeah. And so it was like, we started talking about like, what are the rules and expectations that you're setting that are not setting you up for success, right? Are you setting the rules and expectations of like, business is always going to be hard for me, right? It's like I find it difficult to gain clients. Or are you putting in rules and expectations where it's like, I sign clients every month. That's just a rule and expectation that I'm going to lean into. And you build that belief around why it's possible for you to do that. Like you really build up your rules and expectations of what you're going to see until you start to see it. And when you start to see it, you start to believe it even more. And we spoke about, faith and what true faith actually means and how we need to anchor into that faith as you're building your business even more. So those are the discussions from day one. And like over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go through like what we covered on other days, because we went into money and sales and what it means to make money and sell for something that you absolutely love and feel like is like your God-given passion. And it's like, maybe I shouldn't be selling it, right? Can I give it for free, right? We covered all of that. We covered lots on offers as well, and the various types of offers, and we covered lots on actual sales and how to sell and ensure consistency in sales as well. So there was so much that went on the retreat, guys. 3 days, right? Super intense. There's lots of space though for spa activities, relaxation. Every single day, people were able to relax and integrate the materials. But then there was like roll our sleeves up and let's get to work. And we had lots of enjoyment in terms of dinners and going to the champagne bar and all of that stuff. So there is a really cool event. Like I said, it will happen annually. It does happen annually. The next one will be next October, but we'll definitely have those dates out before the end of this year.